Give a big round of applause to our guests for coming here tonight. To do some proper introductions, we have the man who did the special effects makeup for the film, Mr. Tom Savini. We have the man who was the first Jason Voorhees ever, Ari Lehman. The man who helped create the Friday the 13th saga, Victor Miller. The best or worst mother in history, Betsy Palmer. The man who wrote some of the scariest fucking music ever, Harry Manfredini. And last but certainly not least, the lone survivor of the chaos that was Camp Crystal Lake in the summer of 1980, Adrian King.
My agent called and said, "How would you like to do a movie?" I said, "Great." I said, "I have not done a movie in years." And I said, "California?" He said, "No, it's going to be shot in New Jersey. And it's 10 days' work. You'll make $1,000 a day." And I said, "Great." He said, "Well, there's one catch." And I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "It's a horror film." I said, "Oh, no. No, thank you, no. It's bad enough that I'm known as a game player doing I've Got a Secret, a game show that I did for 10 or 11 years. And I said, "No," and then to be added, a horror film? I said, "Send me the script." He sent me the script, I read it, and I said, "What a piece of shit." Anyway, I said, "Nobody is going to see this thing. It will come, it will go. That's the end of it. You know, I'll do it." I called him and I said, "I'll do it." That's my part of the story.
Sean called me up one day and said, "Halloween is making a lot of money." So I said, "Okay, how do you write a horror film? I'll have to go see Halloween." So I went to see Halloween, and I figured out the format. Basically, you start with a prior evil that happens before the movie opens. You have a bunch of randy teenagers who are outside the help of formal authority. Adults cannot come and save their asses. And you knock them off one by one, especially the ones who fornicate. And at the end, the evil genius is found. Sean and I would have been perfectly happy if it had been a real hit at the local drive-in, because that was the level we had been working at. And suddenly we had this thing. I'm reading Variety, and I'm seeing that we're the top 10 movies for 10 weeks.
And it made like 64 million.
78 million, something like that, yeah.
When I was a little kid, I heard about an audition in my town. I wanted to be in a movie just like everybody.
How old were you?
I was 12. 12, 13, you know. And it was at the YMCA. So I said, "How am I going to get in there?" So I brought a clipboard, you see, to look official. And I got there and I said, "Where's the audition?" And they said, "Oh, it's upstairs." Okay. And so that was acting even then. And somehow I got cast for that Manny's Orphans thing as Roger, the little sex-obsessed child, which was somewhat prophetic. But anyway, so when they went to do Friday the 13th, they needed a little kid. They called me, I picked up the phone. Sean's like, "Can you swim?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You got the part."
My memory is I got a call from Sean. I think Dawn of the Dead had just opened, and they wanted the same guy that had created the stuff in Dawn of the Dead to do Friday the 13th. So I went to Connecticut. I think we had a meeting. We sat around and discussed all the effects and how, how they would be done, what we would see. That's the most important part. When if you're a budding effects person, you get a script, you break it down to a list of effects. And then the next thing is you have to talk to the director about what he wants to see, because you'll build 1,000 things that may be not necessary. So we discussed exactly what he wanted to see, and that told me what to create. And the first thing was to cast his head and create Jason. And he was modeled after a guy that used to walk around in my neighborhood, a little bum with one ear was lower than the other, and he looked like Quasimodo with an eye lower. And you were originally going to have hair, and I don't know why we chose to make you bald. I think it might have been easier or something. You know?
It got down to a screen test, and I guess I screened and screamed very well. My scream, I always say, my scream just, I think, nailed with the last nail in the coffin, whatever it was. But I think that's how I got the role, and the rest is history.
We were having dinner at Sean's house in the kitchen. He said to me, I'm going to make the scariest movie ever made, and you're going to write the music. And at that point, I had scored 3 films, including those 2, and I said, okay, good. And he said, it's called Friday the 13th, and here's the way it's going to look. And I went, okay, good. And I scored it.
The night I arrived, they shooed me right into Tommy Savini, who was going to do the mock-up of my head. And as I was sitting there and he was getting stuff mixed up in the plaster, you probably remember this, and you gave me a series of Polaroid shots and said, here's the stuff I've been doing. I come upon this one shot and I said, and who is this? And he said, well, that's your son, Jason. And I said, well, why does he look so strange? And he said, well, because he's a mongoloid. I said, what? I said, that wasn't in the script. And so I said to myself when I got back in my room that night, I said, my God, not only all this other stuff she's had, there is her little boy who is so needy and will always be so needy. And I mean, this woman has a great cross to bear. So when that little boy drowns, when that little boy drowns, I mean, I lost it. I really did. And rightfully so. And I tried to keep that camp from getting open. Every year they tried to open it. I think, what are you doing? Didn't they have a fire one year? I think they talked about the water was poisoned another year. The lady was, so, and rightfully so. So that's why I say, after all this long thing, but that's why I did what I did. And to me, it's justified. And I don't care. They can put masks, they can put I don't care what on those guys and say, that's her son, that's Jason. Jason's at the bottom of Crystal Lake. Or if he weren't, I never would have done it all.
The first thing you see is sunlight on the water, a hopeful sign. Then you see the policeman coming, which is something like that's authority is coming back. And then, okay, this incredibly beautiful music. And the credits are going to roll in. Yes, and there's even a space left for the credits. So they used every trick in the book. And then as this great, lush violin swell, bam, that's where I come out. So it's like everything was used. You didn't have a chance, people.
We literally eliminated everybody from wondering what was going on. I mean, when it was the water and it was the morning, everybody said, okay, well, everything's okay, and here's Adrian in the boat, and then the police come, and it's nice, and it's beautiful. That scene went on so long that everybody gave up on something happening, and that was the point of it. The point of it was that you're listening to that music, and you know the credits are going to roll. But, for example, someone who saw Carrie was probably going like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And it just kept getting longer and longer, and something's going to happen. No, maybe not. Nothing's going to happen. That's how long we went. We went to the point of where everybody, including the Carrie fans, gave up on something going to happen, and that's when we hit you. So it was really a combination of so many things that made that thing. Timing is everything.
This question's for Adrian. I know you said you were cast because you could scream so well. Can you still scream well, and could you demonstrate?
Do we want the mic for this, or? No, 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 no.
First of all, it's been a long time since I've done my scream. But if you want me to,
Oh, they want you to.
I have to stand up. I have to stand up only because it comes from here. It comes from way down here.
But now Jason is coming, or
Okay, and that's what I was going to say. I have to totally, like, envision this. All right. Let's do Bill on the back of the door. That one freaked me.
Okay.
Okay, because that was, all right. So we have. Thank you.
My question is for Mrs. Voorhees. Is it true that you were actually offered a part in the Freddy versus Jason as Jason's mother, and that you declined it? And if so, why?
More vanity is involved in it than that. No. They asked me to be in 3 different films, or 3 different filmings of Friday the 13th. And I don't even remember what, I think the first 1 or 2 might have been, Sean was having his son doing the directing, and I think it was up in Canada. They sent me the script, and I, of course, looked at it. And I don't know, they have me standing beside a grave saying, "You promised me that you'd kill all those people." That was it, right? I'm an actress, for God's sake. Don't give me some dumb line like that. No way. Mm-mm. So that's the true story.
This is a great venue for me to clarify. Thank you so much. After part 1 came out, within a few weeks, I had a stalker. And it was 1980 before stalking was taken seriously. And it was also a very hush-hush thing. And the theatrical agent I had at the time, which I had just acquired, who was a friend of a friend of a friend, decided that they were going to try to make the most out of my being the only link from part 1 to part 2, unbeknownst to me, because I was dealing with a stalker. And what I had said to them was, by the way, I never saw a script ever once. Never saw a script.
For part 2?
For part 2. And all I said was, I will do anything, because I, quite honestly, would be nowhere without Friday the 13th. I loved the film. I loved the experience. I have nothing but wonderful memories of part 1. And it wasn't until after the release of part 1 that all of the insanity started in my life, and I honestly could not focus on anything else, because if you are being psychologically terrorized and no one is taking you seriously, it's really hard to get your head together. And what I said to my agent when all of this was going on, because it wasn't Sean, and I'm reading the Wikipedia thing, and it actually says the reason that Adrienne didn't come back for part 2 is because we could not come to some financial agreement with her agent. I almost had a heart attack reading that 28 years later, because that is so far from the truth.
Oh, well, there's a lot of misinformation.
Incredible misinformation. So I just want the fans to realize that was not the reason. The reason was I had asked my agents to convey to the Friday the 13th Part 2 people that I'm more than willing to do whatever they want me to do to keep the thread going. I'd like them to leave me open-ended so I could come back when hopefully my life gets a little quieter. It was just, at some point I will get the strength to really write the whole book down and incorporate it with my art and all of that. But for right now, I just want all the fans to know that the reason I just did the top 20 minutes of the film was honestly, when I got there, I had no clue what I was going to do. I didn't have a script. I came in for the last, it was like one night shoot that was really the night from hell, because there was so much hostility on the set, unbeknownst to me why, mind you. until I actually read that Wikipedia 2 weeks ago. I still could never figure out what was going on. You're so important to me because you've actually been the ones who finally healed me from this whole stalking thing that happened. It's given me closure, and I realized that the reason everybody go through some sort of hell, I went through mine, you go through yours, but I'm getting the blessing. No one gets a second chance like I'm getting now. And I want to thank you all for that. I really do.
But as I say, you know, you give us the opportunity, you, the audience, to do what it is that we love doing really more than anything else in this world, and that's to act. And I've been fortunate to have had a career that started in 1949 after I graduated from drama school, and I'm still working. I'm still out doing love letters and things like that, personal appearances, and these conventions.
Friday the 13th, everybody.